I will start this lecture by introducing who or what Petruska is. Because this is an incidental music accompanying a ballet productions on the story of Petruska, we need to know what or who is Petruska. The more we explore on the subject, the better we will perform these piano transcriptions or enjoy listening to. We will explore what happens to Petruska. It is an interesting love story with clever settings and plots. I believe Stravinsky must have spent some time to ponder on the story and must bring the story to life in his mind before pouring out his musical inspirations and ideas. The music he wrote truly reveals the enthusiasms Stravinsky had on Petruska. The fact that he made his own solo piano transcriptions gives an undeniable proof of the composer's enthusiasms. The composer's enthusiasms will be transmitted to us as we explore how Stravinsky powerfully transformed the story into a musical drama. Stravinsky must have had a particular interest in transcribing this orchestral work for solo piano. He must have perceived peculiar characteristics that are distinct from this instrument. This is what we will try to discover now. So let's start with our first agenda. Petruska is not a muscular hero type. He is neither a handsome, attractive Don Juan type, but he is a puppet whose character is more like a joker. He tends to be hyperactive and talkative, seeking people's attention. And Petruska comes under different names, such as Punch, Polichinelle, Pulcinella, or Casper. The story of Petruska is different from region to region, and in Russia, the most popular one is the one adopted into this ballet production. So here are some historical facts on these awesome musical compositions. Stravinsky wrote the music for the 1911 Ballet Russe productions on the story of Petruska. Václav Nijinsky, considered one of the best male ballet dancers, was the lead role for Petruska. He was pictured standing next to Stravinsky. Nijinsky was so identical to Petruska that the statue of Petruska was laid upon his tombstone. The productions was premiered on June 13, 1911 at Théâtre du Châtelet. Here is the luxurious hall where the premiere took place. What a thrill it could have been to be at the premiere. Alexander Noah, who designed the stage decorations, helped Stravinsky with the setting of the story of Petruska. Here is an example of the stage design by Noah, a very rich display of the Russian culture. This ballet production is a total artwork among dance, drama, music, and this great stage design. There are 4 scenes for the entire productions. I will provide a brief overview of these 4 scenes. So here is the first one. The first scene of Petruska is set to a traditional festival before the Easter known as Shrovetide Fair. The stage is filled with a crowd gathering at the fair with numerous dances and attractions. It ends with a magician introducing his 3 puppets. They are the pretty ballerina, the powerful and good appearance Demur, and the awkward and less appealing Petruska, as we can see in the picture here. Soon these puppets make their jovial dance that attract and mesmerize the large crowd. It is not only the stage decorations by Alexander Noah that displays the rich Russian culture. The music also strongly portrays Russian folk tunes. In my opinions, Stravinsky gave his strongest contributions to the nationalisms in music in this Petruska. He captured the opportunity to bring Russian elements to these ballet productions outside his native land. Here is an example. He put together 2 traditional Russian themes for the dancing music of the 3 puppets. This end of the first tableau will become the first movement of the piano transcriptions. Stravinsky did not transcribe the entire orchestra version. I'm showing here the reconstructions of the orchestra versions into his transcriptions. The first movement of the transcription is taken from the end of the first scene, where the 3 puppets dance to Russian folk tunes. Let us now go back to the whole story. The second part of Petruska portrays the inner being of Petruska, soon after he was brought to life by the magicians. Sad of his unattractive appearance, he is lonely, jealous, and angry. What a nice symbolism here. Staging Petruska in his room is like visiting his newly created soul. The room itself well represents the emptiness and the darkness of a soul, with only the picture of the magicians. This is like reminding his cruelty to Petruska. And here, Petruska is lamenting. And then ballerina enters the room, accentuating the cruel destiny Petruska must bear. He was so much in love with the ballerina. Petruska frantically tries to impress the ballerina with his dance, but only to find the ballerina leaving the room freaking out. The second tableau will become the second movement of the piano transcriptions, with its famous Petruska chords of rage and disdain. The class of C major and F sharp major triads, right on the part. The very same class of chords will close the piano transcriptions. Here it is in the overall picture. The second movement here is the centerpiece of both the orchestra versions and the solo piano transcriptions. Let us continue with the third scene. A visit to the Moor's room, which is flamboyantly decorated, completely the opposite of Petruska. The Moor is the lucky one, even the ballerina pursues him. Desperately falls in love, the ballerina seduces the Moor with her toy trumpet playing. Suddenly Petruska rushes to enter the Moor's room, interrupting the romance between the Moor and the ballerina. Petruska tries to fight the Moor, but soon realizes that he is no match for the Moor and soon flees out of his room. Stravinsky made his transcription effectively concise. He only took the music from the ending of this third tableau. The end of the Moor scenes effectively provides a bridge heading back to the crowd scene at the Stravinsky Fair as the final scene. Right after the Moor's victorious fight, so here we return to the Stravinsky Fair as the concluding scene, in which at the end of this scene the Moor continues to chase Petruska amidst the crowd. The crowd is unaware of the ongoing drama. The trail escalates as the sun goes down at this merrymaking fair. Successfully chasing Petruska, the Moor kills him with his sword in the middle of the terrified crowd. The police question the magicians, who tries to calm and remind the crowd that Petruska is only a puppet. And then the night falls. The crowd is gone. Only the magicians there carrying the broken puppet Petruska. But then suddenly the ghost of Petruska haunts him and makes the magician run in terror. Stravinsky did not transcribe the whole last scene of the orchestra version. He cut off the transcriptions at the rushing Petruska trying to save his life from the angry Moor. And this appropriately makes the transcriptions more like an independent concert piece rather than retelling the complete setting of Petruska at the ballet productions. Petruska that Stravinsky wrote through this plays proves that he is indeed a great composer. The music is instantly attractive. It has its magnet that is captivating as it powerfully conveys the story of Petruska. Two words from me that describe simple but creative. Endlessly and unlimitedly creative. It has its magnet that is captivating as it powerfully conveys the story of Petruska. Stravinsky utilizes elements of music such as harmony, melody, rhythm, colorations, textures, etc., and combining any of them in creative and variative ways. And he organized them so cleverly so that the music leaves a very strong impact to the audience. Stravinsky is like the magicians that brings Petruska to life. So did he with his music. For example, here in the opening movement, the Russian dance. Through his craftsmanship, Stravinsky has transformed simple folk tunes into a spellbinding musical attractions. He is able from the music to project out the astonished crowd as they watch the acrobatic dances of the trio puppets. The different characters of the puppets are so well accentuated. Let us take a closer look. The large, astonished crowd is well represented in this opening by the thick texture chords moving in parallel motion. The chords are set as the dominant seventh, alternating with second inversion tonic. These clever choices give a sense of massive fluidity in the music. We are floating in the dominant sevenths, in other words, we are not at home. The notes looks like the crowd too. Then naughty, playful, acrobatic leaps suddenly break the crowd's attentions. Such a clever writing truly, attracting the listeners' attentions too, giving electrifying sparks to the audience. Now, let us observe how Stravinsky unfolds the characters of each puppet. Here, with the heavy, low octaves, this must be portraying the powerful Moor. Perhaps here, in this fortissimo, he is swinging his blade. Now, the pretty ballerina, this passage must be portraying. The music is transposed to A major, sweetly elaborated and fancy, yet it remains energetic. And last, Petruska, running around clumsily, depicted by those up and down running notes, and at the same time the full chord syncopations in the right hand. Truly a brilliant composition. Let us not forget, Stravinsky uses only one theme for these trio characters. One to the next steps up fourth higher, cleverly elevating the intensity. Just like for a dance choreographer who needs to interpret and visualize what movements the dancers need to do following the music, I feel the urge to interpret and visualize as well, the dancing reenactment in my head along with the flow of the story. The music is there not just for its sound. I believe his imagination in the pianist's head will breathe life to the music being performed, well after tackling its numerous insane technical challenges. The last movement, Shrovetide Fair, contains even more craftsmanship from the composers and yes, even more technical challenges. But we will take a closer look now to the heart of this entire composition. That is its second movement, Petruska's Room, and we will see truly what an amazing composer Stravinsky is. The excitements from Stravinsky's creative mind are immediately apparent in the outer movements of these transcriptions, but not so immediately apparent in the second movement, even though the drama in its music is very powerful. Composition-wise, on the surface, the second movement appears scattered and fragmented, so well portraying the broken-hearted, the ill-fated Petruska. But Stravinsky did not randomly throw some notes to create the music. Instead, he was very efficient and systematic in constructing each moment in this second movement. The thundering clash of the Triton Triad C major, here I color the chord with blue, and F sharp major in red opens this movement, foretelling the tragic fate of Petruska, the unwanted one, but existing only to heighten the drama intended to entertain the crowd. The intensity Stravinsky provides is not just a loud noise. Cleverly, he holds a single note that so well represents the loneliness of this main character. And the gaps Stravinsky provided are able to tell about the confused puppet now brought to life. Remember, there are no words in the performance to tell the story, and therefore a strong dramatic music is crucially needed. This is a drama that takes place on the surface of the music. But as we observe how Stravinsky constructed the music, we will discover how efficient his design is, yet powerful. The first 8 bars notes are basically emotions from high G dropping to lower G and bouncing back to the initial note G. Now the bipolarity C major and F sharp major is more pronounced but quietly, well portraying the conflict in the inner soul. A whispering desire of wanting to be a more appealing being, but not. And to add to this beautiful born-to-life puppet is this two-note mocking gesture. What makes his music more easily acceptable to the ears of common listeners is the fact that Stravinsky provides nice, sweet consonant intervals to compensate all the bitter dissonances portray cruelty of the magicians. Now let us observe these mocking calls. It starts with a major second rolling down, but after a sudden interrupting crash, it intensifies to a minor second. The lament escalates, which soon becomes a scream. Observe now, it is the raised 5th G major triad, now from the earlier C major triad. Notice also what Stravinsky does to enhance the escalating tensions. While the C triad is now a 5th higher, the F sharp also steps up triadically. F sharps, then A sharp, and now C sharp, which is also a 5th higher from the very opening. But we get stuck with the note G. Isn't this a very clever, efficient, and effective design? There are plenty more amazing craftsmanship Stravinsky has done in this second movement. This is a virtuosic compositional display of its composer, and this is what absolutely makes Stravinsky a legend. Now let us go to the last sections of my lecture. What is special about these piano transcriptions? The second movement in the orchestra version places piano on the spotlight. Here is an example from the orchestra score how the piano functions to decorate the orchestra. At some parts, Stravinsky gives the piano to go solo, such as here where ballerina enters Petruska's room. Or here, when Petruska was upset, unable to attract ballerina with his frantic dance. Piano plays an important role. The special moments are given to the instrument. And also, the opening, of course, the cursed being. I believe the second movement becomes the initial drive for Stravinsky to labor for writing a piano transcription. Stravinsky's primary occupation was not a concert pianist, and it must have taken extra effort for him to transcribe this elaborate and festive orchestra music into a solo piano. That means Stravinsky must be very enthusiastic to have the music on the solo piano repertoire, and surely we pianists are very grateful for his effort. And as a genius composer, the transcriptions turns out to be a very brilliant concert piece, highly respected and widely performed. Stravinsky enthusiasm means that pianists should have the confidence performing these solo piano transcriptions. Even though it is the same music as the orchestra version, But this transcription has some elements that pianists can explore further, has some advantages that pianists can exploit. The greatest advantage as a solo instrumentalist is that the interpretation is 100% ours. In the orchestra, even if we have a solo line, at least we still share interpretations with the conductor. Even when the conductor gives the liberty, we have no access to the interpretations of the entire piece. Having this liberty is a privilege. In these piano transcriptions, I need to keep reminding myself that Stravinsky has the inclinations toward the classical style, even though this Petruska came before his neoclassical years. Pianist, when playing these transcriptions, will combine the richness of the orchestra in his imaginations with the richness of the piano as well. Lastly, this piano transcription is no longer an incidental music, but it is a concert piece, a masterpiece.